We're going live. You're all set.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's March 24th. It's 70 degrees outside. And as far as I know, it's partly cloudy right now. It's so nice to see everyone. I hope you're all well. We're going to start this evening, and I am going to ask our counsel to take attendance if she doesn't mind.
Sure, Madam Chairwoman. Legislator Willingham,
Present.
Peter,
Present.
Bergdorf,
Present.
Clay,
Present.
Grimm,
Here.
Joyce,
Present.
Lakakis,
Yeah, I have a.
Mayo,
Here.
and O'Brien.
Yes, here.
All present, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, we're going to get started here. What is the time? Anybody tell me what time?
6:34.
Okay. All right. So it's close to 6:30. We're going to move this right along. We're going to start number one with having our minutes, approving our previous meeting minutes.
Motion, Madam Chair.
Okay. Okay. I got a motion from Mr. Peter and my second.
Second motion.
Okay. I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, it's
Unanimous, and somebody needs to mute themselves. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. All right, we're now going to move on to number two.
Item 2 is authorizing a one-time amnesty period for reduction of interest charged on delinquent property taxes. This has been tabled at the request of the sponsor.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll now go on to number, I'm going to take this out of order. We're going to go to number 7.
Item 7 is a determination that the proposed construction for the Albany County E911 Emergency Operations Center will not have a significant impact on the environment.
And our speaker this evening is Sheriff Apple.
Good evening, everyone. Madam Chairwoman, thank you. At this point, we've received the letters back indicating that there'll be no significant impact on the environment or the historic preservation of the school with the addition of the 911 center at the Clarksville location at 58 Verda.
Thank you. Do I have any questions or comments from any members? Mr. Bergdorf.
Quick question, Sheriff. I had seen in some of the backup that was while Albany County was lead agency, you had an engineer actually do the seeker or a group of professionals. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was that done by the architect, engineer, or?
It was actually done in the preparation of the entire plan. Normally we would have Laura D. Gitano do it here in the county. And but it was written into the RFP and everything else. So the engineers did it.
Okay.
And unfortunately it worked against us a little bit only because of the time frame, but regardless, it's done and we can move forward.
So you had a good hard look by a group with professional credentials. Not suggesting that Laura does not, but I'm pleased that we did a professional seeker.
Yes.
If there are no other questions, I would move it.
I'd make a second to Mr. Bergdorf's motion.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Bergdorf. I got a second from Mr. Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. We'll now go back to the previous business number 3.
Item 3 is resolution number 316 for 2020, an amended and restated bond resolution of the County of Albany, New York, authorizing the undertaking of a capital project for the Emergency 911 Communications Center, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $10 million, appropriating said amount therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $9 million of serial bonds of said county to finance said appropriation.
All right. I'm sorry, Sheriff Apple. Sheriff Apple, is he still with us?
He doesn't appear to be, Madam Chair. I can speak on this briefly if the committee would like.
Go ahead.
Go
Go ahead.
This is a resolution that was originally proposed a few months ago in order to move the money, the $9 million over for the project. What it would do is it amended the previous bonds authorized by the legislature. It was previously indicated that the facility was going to be located at the nursing home. It is now moving over to Avenue. And this is going to just amend the bond so the bonds actually reflect that so we can continue on with the project.
Do I have any questions from any members? Mr. Peter?
Madam Chair, if there are no questions from anyone in the committee, I'd like to make a motion to move this.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. All right. Ms. Kennedy?
Item 4 is local law number B for 2021, a local law of the County of Albany, providing for reduction of the redemption period to 1 year for residential property located within a local municipality, which has been determined by it pursuant to New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 1111A, Subdivision 2B, to be vacant and abandoned.
Okay, number 4. Do I have any comments, questions? Is somebody waving his hand? Okay. No, if there are no comments or any questions,
Move the,
I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien.
Seconded.
I got a second from Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Ms. Kennedy?
Item 5 is local law number E for 2021, a local law of the County of Albany, providing for special deferments and installment payments of taxes during the COVID-19 state of emergency for real property located within the County of Albany.
make a motion to move it.
I have a motion from Mr. If there are no comments or questions. Mr. Peter?
I was just seconding Mr. O'Brien's motion if there are no questions or comments.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien. I got a second from Mr. Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Oppose? Thank you, unanimous. Okay, Ms. Kennedy?
Item 6 is finalizing the accounting of the 2020 Albany County budget.
Ms. Rizzo, how are you this evening?
I'm just dandy. Thank you, Madam Chair and the members of Audit and Finance. The Comptroller's Office is presenting end-of-year budget adjustments in order to finalize the accounting of the 2020 budget. I'd like to entertain any questions at this time, along with Dave Riley with Management and Budget. And I also have in my office Chip Dott and Mike McNabb.
Thank you. Mr. Bergdorf, is your hand up?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair recognizes Mr. Bergdorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sue, actually, your submission that goes with this is much easier to review than the one that just was line items which were not grouped by category. I just have a question for you. On all the increases in hospital and medical insurance, and the big one on state retirement, do we know why those numbers are among the largest numbers in the end of the year adjustment?
Mr. Riley? Oh, I'm sorry. I saw him put his hand up. Do you want to speak, Ms. Rizzo?
No, that's fine. Mr. Riley can, but I think we're all going to say the same thing. Go ahead, Mr. Riley.
So the greatest determinant to that is we budget each department by department, some departments being as small as 4, 5, 6 employees, some being hundreds of employees. When you look at it in the aggregate, we try to budget it properly for the county as a whole by each fund. Sometimes we miss the mark a little on each department based on, actual costs of medical care, things along those lines, waves of retirement. If you would like, we could budget it by fund instead of by department. That would probably be easier for everybody.
Well, no, I actually like this presentation here because when I took a look at it in a version that was sent to me, they were all spread out all through the budget, so you couldn't really tell. You couldn't determine any trends. I guess what I'm really asking is is there any linkage to these increased costs with our change in retirement policy by going from 20 to 15 years?
So those numbers, actually, sorry, Madam Comptroller, would you like to handle this one?
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Ross.
Okay. So Mr. Bergdorf, those numbers would actually be handled in our retiree healthcare lines. I don't know offhand if any of those had corrections. Those we do budget by fund. We don't break them down by department. So they tend to be much smoother on the the trending and all that.
Well,
looking at a larger
I
pool.
obviously have no problem with this, but could I ask that those numbers, the retiree funds for both retirement costs and hospital and medical insurance be provided to the members of the committee? And if you can delineate between the 15-year length of service and the 20-year length of service costs. I would like to see what the impact of our policy change was.
Okay, I will get you all of the data I can on that. I don't know. I may have to reach out to human resources. I don't know how easily the breakout between the 15 and the 20 will be. So we may end up having to do like a year-over-year comparison. This is what it was a couple of years ago when it was just 20 years versus this is what it is now. We'll get you some kind of comparison.
Well, obviously the first full complete year with the change of status was 2020. So if you compared 2019 with 2020, I think we could probably draw some data points to look at.
Of course. Yeah, we'll get that over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And Dave and Susan.
Are there any other questions?
Motion to move it.
Question. We lose Madam Chair. What happened?
Mr. Grimm, did you
Yeah.
make a motion?
Yeah. I thought we lost you for a second. Okay. Yeah, I just want to underscore what we're looking here for. We had extensive discussions on how much this healthcare incentive or perk, if you will, was going to cost. So if we can have not only a description, but actually explain to the best way you can how much this actually cost us in specific numbers and where we can find those numbers, that information will be very helpful. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question? All right. Are you prepared to answer that this evening? Ms. Rizzo?
Prepared to answer the question, retirement and hospital? No, like Mr. Riley said, we'll give the committee that analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. I'm absolutely fine with that, Madam Chair.
Yeah, me too.
thank
All right,
you.
thank you. Mr. Peter, did I see your hand up?
You did, but it was just to second Mr. O'Brien's motion to move this.
Okay, I got it. If there are no other comments or questions, I will accept Mr. O'Brien's motion and Mr. Peters' second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Riley and Ms. Rizzo. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Kennedy?
Item 8 is authorizing an agreement with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation and amending the 2021 Department of Economic Development, Conservation, and Planning budget.
If there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Love to make a motion, Madam Chair.
Motion.
Got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Unanimous.
Item 9 is authorizing the County Director of Real Property Tax Services to approve certain applications made for correction of tax roll errors, refunds, and credits of taxes during the 2021 calendar year without prior audit by the legislature.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Matt Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I generally like the idea of this, as I think we were laughing not too long ago when I believe there was a $12 correction that needed our approval. You know, and to take some of that burden away when it's just sort of an obvious correction, I'm for. I think on this piece of legislation, the only two things I would ask, and if the administration is at all okay with it, is to reduce the threshold from the $2,500 limit to the $1,000 limit, and that we make it annual renewal that would begin on either December 31st or January 1st, that we could renew every year, so that we could sort of start it consistently every year, even though it's starting mid-year this year. I don't know if that's something the administration would be amenable to, but I want to bring that up. I think it's important to have sort of a lower threshold, but I still want to allow for the flexibility that seems to be needed in this.
Thank you, Mr. Peter. Mr. McGuire, are you ready?
Yes, I am, but thank you for having me. Mr. Borg, did you have a question first, sir?
Yes, I did. And it is sort of analogous to Max. I'll be honest with you. I don't have a problem with the $2,500. But because I think it's somewhat embarrassing that we're here approving a $178 refund to somebody for whatever. But you know, I will yield to the collective judgment on the amount. But what I would like, this is a new discretionary authority given to a department head, and I think there needs to be some transparency and reporting. And I would like to see either a yearly report or an annual report, and I would like to see that the resolution reflected. And if I have to make an amendment, I would ask to do so, that the legislature be provided with a summary of the adjustments made within the real property director's discretion. Because I don't think we should be micromanaging your work, but I think there should be some reflection of transparency so that the legislature is aware of changes, both credits and debits, to our real property tax system. I don't know if anybody feels the same way.
No, Paul, I think you're exactly right. And I would support such an amendment. I think by basis, don't we get a monthly report on this? And would we continue to get a monthly report on this?
So if I could jump in quick, one of the requirements within the resolution is a monthly report that I would send to the legislature on the 15th of every month that would outline any corrections or refunds that are below the approved threshold. So that would be coming to the legislature every month. Within that, the requirement is I would notify the individual, the property, and the dollar amount. In addition to that, if there's any specific information that you would request in that report, of course, that can be provided as well. You know, a description of what the error was and why it was, what brought it about, or what the resolution was. So that's something that is we have in there and that we can also add and amend to as we need it.
Well, shame on me for not reading the legislation thoroughly enough, first of all. Because that's the kind of transparency that I would like to see. Once again, I am a bit more flexible than Matt is in terms of the amount. You know, maybe there's some number in between. I don't know how the rest of the committee or the chairwoman feels.
Right now, let me see, I'm going to recognize, let Mr. Grimm have his say, and then we'll go back to all the different comments so we can put them all together. Mr. Grimm?
Oh.
Did I lose him?
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, then my internet went down, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, the 2,500 hits me as a little too high. I think that the $1,000 suggestion by Mr. Peters is really good. I'd like to support that.
Okay,
Just, Madam Chair, it's Mike McLaughlin, and Mr. McGuire, please jump in here if I'm incorrect, but the basis of the $2,500 number is another local county uses that as its amount. So that was the primary basis as an example that worked for another proximate county.
Well, the statute, the real property tax law statute that permits this, the maximum allowable is $2,500. I don't see a problem with the threshold being whatever you determine. My ultimate concern was that if we were to adopt this resolution, it would help to expedite the process. And as Mr. Peters brought up, it would also help to get rid of some of the, the corrections that are, that are lower dollar amounts that necessarily may not be as worthy of your time, if you will.
No, I understand that, but it's just that I think 2,500, it's a fair amount of money. So I think 1,000 is a better number. And
That's fine with me, yes.
okay.
all right. May I please? We've had some suggestions for changes here. I'd like a comment from council on how we would handle that. Please.
Yes, Madam Chair, if you could entertain a motion with the $1,000 limit, if you so choose, and if that's the way the committee would like to go.
May I ask a question first before there's a motion?
Certainly, Mr. Bergdorf.
This is for Mike McGuire. Mike, I'm asking you to be a little bit clairvoyant here. Are there 100 of these a year, or how many of them tend to be under $1,000? How many of them tend to be above $2,500? Because if $1,000 only takes 10% off our plate, I think we should know that. What is your sense of are most of these really minor, or where did
we had for last year there was a total of 181 applications that were submitted to my office. Out of those applications, let me see here, a total of 138 were less than $1,000. 166 of the 181 were less than $2,500. So the vast majority of them are less than $1,000. And
I'm sorry you broke up there.
There were a total number of applications last year, 181. 166 of those were less than 2,500, and 138 of those applications were less than $1,000.
So even if we went with $1,000, we would cut the amount that came to the Audit and Finance Committee by 50%?
Yes, sir, more than that.
76%.
Motion to move it, please.
Madam Chair,
Well, don't we need a motion to amend?
yes, can I make a motion to amend, Madam Chair?
Second.
And council, do you need me to specify my amendment?
If you could, that would be wonderful. And I believe the Madam Chairwoman is muted.
I'm sorry. The motion to amend is based on the $1,000. Is that correct?
The $1,000 and then it to be reauthorized every year at January 1st, I believe. Is that correct?
So I wouldn't put it in a fixed date. I would maybe just say annually.
If I may interject, I apologize. The resolution does say that the resolution shall only be in effect during the calendar year in which it was adopted. So it already has a sunset clause, if you will, of December 31st.
Right. And then my only thing is that the reauthorization we want at the beginning of the year. I don't know if we should put it in there just so it can carry on.
Well, why don't we give it to them for a year and a half? Because by the time this gets done.
I'm sorry if I can jump in, Madam Chair. The state authorization that allows this only allows for the extension for the calendar year. So at the end of the calendar year, we'd have to re-adopt a resolution. It can be one that's introduced by the legislature at the January meeting every year. It's not a problem.
Okay, so
So-
we're clear, excuse me, Mr. Bergdorf. So the one thing that we are clear on now is that $1,000 and also that it would be reauthorized at the beginning of the calendar year. Is everybody clear on that?
Yep.
Mr. Peter,
Yes, that is the motion I'd like to make, Madam Chair.
Second.
Second it.
okay, so I got a motion from Mr. Peter and I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. So we're voting on the amendment, is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Now, is there a second vote here? Council?
Yes, on the motion itself.
Okay, all right, so now we have a motion, I need a motion on the amendment, on the item itself. Who's gonna
Motion,
do
Madam
that?
Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a
Motion.
second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you very much. All right. Ms. Kennedy,
Item 10 is authorizing correction of the tax roll for the town of Queens.
Mr. McGuire?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This is an application that was submitted by Ms. Dawn DeRose, the assessor for the town of Queens, to correct a school tax re-levy. There was an error on the school tax bill, and because the tax bill has been re-levied, the legislature would need to go back and correct the unpaid property tax bill that bill was re-levied on. So it's a correction changing the re-levy amount from $6,905.67 to $5,248.87. I also have already supplied a copy of the application to the Ravenna Queens Selkirk Central School District. The school board there approved the correction on their end. So on our end, to get the corrected bill out, we need to approve this correction.
Motion to move
I
it.
got, if I have no questions, Mr. Bergdorf. Okay, sorry, I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien. I got a second from Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Number 11, Ms. Kennedy?
Item 11 is authorizing correction of the tax roll for the town of Bethlehem.
Mr. McGuire?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is just a correction of a property that was transferred to the town of Bethlehem, owned by the town of Bethlehem, and unfortunately, they did not update their assessment records, so a tax bill was levied for a municipal owned property. The total amount of the correction was $15.26, or sorry, $15.32.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Bergdorf.
If it was owned by the town of Bethlehem and why was there any tax associated with it? Because you said it was from the town of Bethlehem to the town of Bethlehem.
Correct. Well, it was acquired from a private property owner to the town of Bethlehem due to a clerical error. The updating of the assessment records did not occur. They didn't change the ownership to the town of Bethlehem, so there was a tax bill that was issued.
Oh, okay. All right. It was a little different than it was explained earlier.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much for the information.
Thank you. All right, if there are no other questions,
Can I make a motion, Madam Chair?
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a
Motion.
second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Ms. Kennedy,
Item 12 is rescinding the authorization to convey real property pursuant to resolution number 271 for 2018 and authorizing the conveyance of 20 Judson Street in the city of Albany.
Mr. Riley,
Madam Chairwoman, this was originally, 20 Judson was originally transferred to the land bank, as stated by council. We are now requesting to rescind that and to transfer it to the abutting property owner, James Scaringe, for $3,200.
any comments or questions? If no comments or questions, I'll entertain a
Quick
motion.
question.
Mr.
How long-
Bergdorf,
How long ago did we send it to the land bank?
Let me look that up. It should be in the backup here.
Madam Chair, it's Mike McLaughlin. It was authorized to go to the land bank. The land bank didn't close, and therefore now we are redirecting it. It was authorized, Mr.
Oh,
Bergdorf.
okay.
They never closed. So
So
it's
this
not
is
like
a-
we're taking it back and it's going directly from
Okay.
us to Mr. Scringe.
Okay, that was my concern. I was worried about creating a precedent in which we transfer something to the land bank. It may go through some marketing and some efforts, and then someone says, hey, I'll take it. But you have answered
No,
that.
there'll be no title issues, anything like that. Nope.
Thank you very
Miss-
much.
Thank you, Mr.
Madam Chair.
McLaughlin. Yes, Mr. Peter.
If there are no other questions, I would love to make a motion on this.
I have a motion from Mr. Peter.
Second.
I have a second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, Miss Kennedy.
Item 13 is rescinding the authorization to convey real property pursuant to resolution numbers 203 and 349 for 2019, and authorizing the conveyance of 91 Alexander Street in the city of Albany.
Mr. Riley.
Madam Chairwoman, similar to the previous item, this is for 91 Alexander Street. It was originally authorized to go to the Land Banks LLC in this case. The abutting owners, Joyce and Douglas Brown at 93 Alexander, have offered to pay $500 for this. So with your approval, we would like to do that.
All right, thank you.
Motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Peter. I got a Mr.
question.
Bergdorf. Mr. Bergdorf has a question.
Dave, is this a buildable lot?
So the reason that this is only $500, I would assume based on the size it is buildable. It was previously an auto garage. That's why we withdrew it from the foreclosure cycle and why it was going to the Land Banks LLC and not their direct corporate arm.
Okay, so there may be environmental issues here,
Potentially, yeah.
which would account for a lessened value from a
Correct.
traditional building lot. Okay, thank you very much for the explanation.
Okay, can I get a motion on this?
Motion, Madam Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, Miss Kennedy.
Item 14 is rescinding the authorization to convey real property pursuant to resolution numbers 159 and 549 for 2019, and authorizing the conveyance of 443 North Pearl Street in the city of Albany.
So,
Mr. Riley.
Madam Chairwoman, as stated previously, this is for 443 North Pearl Street. We had previously transferred 2 parcels that are abutting to this to a Mr. Jason Pierce. He is offering $30,000 to us for this property and also submitted a detailed renovation plan and list of potential expenses that are going to be on him for the rehab here.
Excuse me.
He wants to turn this into an office for his business. So he's going to have to rehab it. It's completely, if you look at the pictures, it's going to take a lot of work.
So is it still under Mr. Pierce's name or
Wait.
is it?
Madam Chair, this is Mike McLaughlin. So
Thank you
we
very much.
originally initiated a transfer to Mr. Pierce. The problem was he was going to do a renovation into a
Yep.
restaurant. And if you
Yep.
remember, it was at the beginning of COVID.
Yep.
So now we're transferring it to the abutting owner who will receive the property. So we're kind of rescinding it from Mr. Pierce.
I'm sorry, I misspoke on that. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you. I was confused myself there. So,
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
hold on, Mr. Bergdorf. So now, what's the name of the company that's getting this now?
Waters Real Property.
Waters Real Property. And Mr. Pierce is not part of that. So what you
Correct.
said was not correct. Is that right?
I misspoke. I apologize for that.
Oh.
Waters owns the abutting property 1050 to 1056 Broadway.
Oh, I know. Okay. Yeah, I know where it is. So I know what you mean when you say that. All right. Mr. Bergdorf, do you still have a question?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I'm looking in the backup at the the unpaid taxes. And they go back to 2011. It's attachment, I'm not sure which attachment it is. It is tax bill 443 North Pearl. It shows that there is $103,995 that is due, and the total unpaid is $62,823. Don't we generally recoup unpaid taxes when we sell to a prospective purchaser?
It's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, if you're talking about just like a property that has value that doesn't have major extenuating circumstances, then I would say yes. I'm not sure this would fall into that category. This building doesn't have a floor.
Yes, that's that.
So-
So when Mr. Pierce acquired this property, he acquired it in a state where I recall that there was no floor in that building. You open the door and that was it. It dropped down. And he acquired that property, I would say almost at the beginning of COVID, didn't he? Isn't that when he got this? Because
Honestly, I think it was even before that, then, Madam Chair. Sorry for the background noise.
That's okay. That's okay. So I don't think that building, I don't think he's been able to do anything.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Are you sure?
Well,
I know where this is. It's in my district. So
Okay.
I understand the condition at the building, how he got it. So.
Well, once again, I'm less concerned about the building and how he got it, but how this impacts our policy going forward. I mean, I thought we generally, when we sold these, we made an attempt to recoup unpaid taxes. And obviously, he has adjoining real estate, which he is going to put together with this to do some sort of commerce. Does this break any new ground in terms of a
No, this is
precedent?
fully in compliance with the property disposition plan. It's a normal run-of-the-mill transfer of a property to an abutting owner. We made every attempt to dispense of the property for market value as per the disposition plan. When that opportunity doesn't present itself, as per the disposition plan, we take the next best offer. That was at the time Mr. Pierce. That obviously didn't work out for a whole host of reasons. I guess act of God being one of them. And then now we have received another offer on a property that otherwise was just sitting with the county, and therefore it behooves us to get it to somebody who's going to put it back on tax rolls.
Okay, I've just never seen one where we've given up this much in unpaid taxes. So that was the reason for my questions.
The unpaid taxes aren't the determination per the disposition plan of the value. It would be the appraised value if necessary, or in a sliding scale, an amount that allows the property to be successfully put back on the tax rolls as long as it's approved by the legislature.
Okay. I see this is only 0.18 acres.
With commercial properties, especially ones that have potential environmental issues, it's very common for us to take less than appraised value because of the challenges associated with the properties.
Yes, I do believe this used to be I think the original Roxy Cleaners was located in this building.
I'd like to make a motion if there are no further questions.
Okay, well,
I would like to second that motion.
Okay, I'd like to, I'll accept that motion from Ms. Lakakis and a second from Mr. Peter. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Ms. Kennedy.
Item 15 is amending resolution number 190 for 2008 regarding the conveyance of real property in the city of Albany.
Mr. Riley.
Madam Chairwoman, this is a request to amend Resolution 190 of 2008. When the property owner was looking to do some financing, to do some work, it was determined by the abstractor that we had, or the county had originally transferred this to the wrong corporate name. It was an acronym. This is just to correct those records so that they don't have any title issues going forward.
Very good. Thank you.
Motion, Madam Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Are there any other items, Ms. Kennedy?
No further items, Madam Chairwoman.
If there are no further items, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion, Madam Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Mr.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Collins,